Thanks for joining us here on the Bearcats Sports Network. This is part two of our three-part season preview of the 2018 McKendree University football program. We're joined by head coach Mike Babcock. And Coach, let's talk defense for the Bearcats. Usually, the last couple of years, we've had several returners, several starters, I should say, coming back. This year, a little bit different story. Just three guys who saw snaps in majority of the games last year coming back, but the cupboard is far from bare. Let's talk about this Bearcat defense.
I think overall we've had a good offseason. I think everyone kind of knew going into it that, when you lose a lot of guys, other guys are going to have to step up. And really that's what I've seen. I haven't seen a letdown by any means. It's more of just new guys kind of coming to the forefront and trying to make their own statement and make their own defense this year for the Bearcats.
Coach, let's look up front. The defensive line for McKendree, only one returning starter there, and Peyton Rankin, who ran a defensive tackle last year. He's going to get the nod again this year. But you have guys like Mike Smith, Isaiah Ward, Jeff Brown, Brandon Purnell, who saw some time last year, some key time at key moments for the Bearcats, and they have experience as well.
Yeah, absolutely. All of them non-seniors. So again, they've gotten some reps, but yet they still have their best football in front of them, in my opinion. So, starting up front, you'd mentioned Peyton Rankin, Isaiah Ward, Johnny Clayton. Those guys are kind of on the inside, kind of the core of those, the inside interior tackles. You need them big, you need them physical, and hopefully that's what we'll be able to see. On the perimeter at defensive end, with Brandon Purnell, Mike Smith, a couple others that we might end up putting in there as well. I think that those guys are quick. I think they're fast. I think that our hope is that they have some good pass rush moves. They can find a way to get to the quarterback. We've been pretty successful in the past of getting some sacks. So, but I know those guys are hungry to show what they can do and really live up to the expectations of what that position group has been like in the past with all conference and all Americans like Lucky Barr, Darian Simmons, and Tobias Cook, and Marquez Cherry, and Tyler House. I mean, there's been a lot of D linemen in the past here, and again, it's always a good group of guys.
Always a tradition-rich position for McKendree, the linebacking core. The Bearcats losing a couple all-conference players in Austin Welfa and Kyle Kirkpatrick. But once again, you get guys stepping in. Rico Gibson, who started in 7 games last year. Mike Tucker, who evolved into a starting role late in the year, did an absolutely fine job. And then guys like Ibn King, John Alvin, Kenneth Wilson, who have been through the wars before. So, as we alluded to earlier, the cupboard far from bare, and guys really hungry, fighting for positions there.
Absolutely. They've kind of embody the word relentless. That's kind of something that they really wanted to be, this fall, and I think they're doing that. Mike Tucker is kind of leading that group right there, a lot by example. Rico Gibson is getting back into the fold, after an injury last year, and I think he's moving around great. He had a heck of a year before he got hurt, so I'm excited to see what he can do. And then there's going to be some other guys that are going to surprise us. So whether it is Ibn King or John Alvin or, Kenny Wilson or any of the young guys that may pop up, from here and there. And, my hope is that, that core can really play relentless. Can they fly around the ball? Can they make plays? Especially since they're so young, I'm going to need them to fly around. So, and I think they've done a great job in camp, and my hope is continue on.
The veteran core you have coming back is in your secondary, led by all-conference performer Blake Benoist, now a 3-year starter for the Bearcats. Guys like Dakota Reed, who took over a starting role at cornerback last year, Josh Lovings, Jason Bennett, guys who have seen action and performed well for the Bearcats. And this is probably the group that's going to lead you defensively in terms of the veteran core you've got coming in.
Yeah, absolutely. Those are pretty much the only seniors that we have on that defensive side, and guys like Dakota Reed, Blake Benoist, James Young. Those guys are very, very solid. And then a lot of guys that have playing experience like Jason Bennett, like Josh Lovings. Again, can they handle themselves on the outside, against some very good wide receivers? Can the safeties and even the corners get them, get down in the run fits and be physical as well? And we've seen some good things in camp. So my hope is that that'll continue on.
Coach, this kind of reminds me a couple of years ago when the Bearcats didn't have as many starters coming back, a young group that was led by a young Lucky Barr, a young A.J. Wentland, and this is a group that seems to be hungry and seems to be ready to take advantage of the opportunities they have before them. Have you seen some of that come through?
I think so. I mean, this is a new year. This is not 2017 minus Austin Weltha or minus, some D linemen. I mean, this is a full new group. And even a couple years ago, now all of a sudden, Lucky Barr just shoots up, or AJ Wentland shoots up. And they've always been great players, but they've came into their moment at the right time. And so my hope is that this year they'll be that surprise. They'll be that all of a sudden this one's coming up and ready to take charge and take the lead and let's go. I think the guys have had fun in camp playing together. I know they're trying like heck to get more and more turnovers and just play fast and play excited. That's what I want to see out of my defense this year.
Although he's not new to McKendree, new defensive coordinator Mike Harrison taking over. How has his transition been, and how has he been working with this young core of players?
Well, I think it's been great. I mean, I think anytime you can get a quality coach like Mike Harrison, up into the role of coordinator, I think is important. McKendree means a lot to him, having been an All-American, on the same field that he now gets to coach. So we've got some new faces in the coaching staff, especially on defense this year. So some quality coaches coming in and being able to kind of take the reins over and make it, another top performer. So I know Coach Harrison is excited. I know he's hungry to get these guys going. We all know the challenges ahead of us, and I think not only Coach Harrison, the rest of the coaching staff, but the entire defense is, ready to take it on.
Last few years, McKendree is traditionally ranked among the leaders in scoring defense, and I know transitioning a young group in there may challenge that, but this group seems up to the challenge.
I think so. I think you got to keep them in good spirits. The bend don't break mentality of it. It really doesn't matter what goes on in a given series, as long as you can find a way to get off the field and not let them score points is what we're trying to do. So I think the guys buy into that. I think the guys buy into keeping it simple. Doing the same thing over and over and over again until you get it right. So my hope is they'll play fast on Saturday and go from there.
I'm sure Bearcat fans will be excited to see the somewhat new look defense for the Bearcats, but we're also anticipating to see what the new year brings. Coach, thanks for joining us.
Absolutely, appreciate it.
2 parts down in our 3-part season preview. Our final installment will preview the McKendree special teams, and we'll talk to Coach about his overall outlook for 2018 here on the Bearcat Sports Network.